Hi, I'm Odeean, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Transformers Fall of Cybertron Deluxe Class Shockwave. Like other figures from Fall of Cybertron so far, this box features a large graphic of Shockwave up in the left-hand corner of the box. This is my favourite of the three pictures that I've got to date, and it really strongly fits the character of Shockwave, how I've grown up with him. I really like this, and I hope it means good things for what's inside. Taking a look at the box in comparison to Soundwave, who's probably Shockwave's counterpart from the War for Cybertron line, you can see that both boxes are pretty much identical in size, and in this case, unlike with the last two Fall of Cybertron figures, Shockwave looks almost the same size as Soundwave. So I hope when I get out of the box it can live up to that. Turning the box around, on the back we can see a G1 style tech spec like with the other figures, and in this case Shockwave's intelligence is number 10, really fitting with the character that we know. We've got photoshopped box art which looks really attractive, but again probably not very indicative of the toy once we get it open. We have the text that goes along with it. Shockwave. Shockwave may appear to be loyal to Megatron, but in reality he serves only one master, pure logic. Behind his emotionless face rests the mind of a brilliant strategist and mathematician. He calculates constantly and enforces his solutions through the precise application of the vast power of his laser cannon. Wow. Shockwave is one bad guy. Let's open up this package and have a look at the toy. Okay, Shockwave. I really don't have any complaints to make about this guy. He is smaller, but you know, we just have to accept that. But just standing on his own merits, he's a pretty decent figure. A lot of the criticisms I had for the last one of these, Fall of Cybertron Jazz, are not valid for this. Whereas Jazz had no pins, no screws, nothing like that. If you look closely, you can see that Shockwave is made to a higher standard. He does have the things that are missing from Jazz. So he's got a better build quality, more time and money has been spent on producing this than that other figure. Looking at the design, compared to other Shockwaves that I own, G1 for example, or the Energon Shockwave, two of my favourite other Shockwaves, this guy has a lot in common. Obviously his colour is purple, and we want it to be purple, and I actually like that the majority of this Shockwave is purple. Sometimes we end up getting a bit too much colour in our Shockwaves, and back in G1, Shockwave was almost entirely purple except for the bit at the end of his barrel and maybe the skinny thigh bits, and that's how I like it. And this guy, he does that, he's all purple. Got a good degree of light piping here. I mean, I've said before, I'm not always a fan of light piping. This figure catches the light really well. So in this case, the light piping is a good thing, and it works. The same clear pink plastic, or purple plastic I guess, has been used on the chest to good effect. And if you look very closely, you can see that it's got on the front and on the back detailing to give it a pattern. So the chest has been done really well, and I'm thankful that they went and put clear plastic in one of these guys, because if anyone who needed it, I think Shockwave uses it the best here. Taking a look at the back, we can see that there's not much kibble. I mean, I don't think there's any kibble, to be honest. It's just these two wings and a block here, but no bits and pieces hanging off. So he's got a very clean looking robot mode. From the side, the shape of the lower leg, the boot section, fits in with how I want Shockwave to look. So he's got a good silhouette as far as Shockwave is concerned. Shockwave had handles for legs, if you remember from G1, and this maintains that kind of swept forward, that arc in the front of the leg, and I like that. He does have two hands, so we know that Shockwave is not meant to have two hands, he's meant to have one, but the way they get around that is with his gun here. It just fits over his hand, and you can pretend... Uh-oh, that fell off, hang on. you can pretend that he has a gun hand. And it accomplishes that pretty well. I mean, you can still see that he's holding it, but I'm satisfied. In my imagination, that can be a gun hand. You just saw that fall off. There's no peg with that. It's just pure friction. So we can take that off. And looking a bit closer, you can see 3-barreled cannon of some kind. I don't really like those barrels. I prefer this thing. I think this is an excellent idea. It really mimics the feel of the G1 barrel end, but does it in a new way with the 3-part design. So that's good as well. His earpieces don't move. His head, due to the transformation, is on this up and down, and it does rotate, but the ears themselves don't move. He has a swivel at the elbow and a ball joint at the elbow, a swivel at the shoulder, and another pivoting point at the shoulder there. He has balls on the thighs and a pin through his knee, along with a swivel in the thigh. His toe can move up and down, but mainly due to transformation. So it's got a good range of motion. These wings at the back are also capable of moving, but again, I think that's due to transformation. So I'm going to show you now some scale. Stand there, Shockwave. Here is Shockwave standing next to Optimus Prime from the same wave. Shockwave is a little bit taller than Optimus Prime head to head. Shoulder to shoulder, he's about the same. So the spikes on the shoulders of Shockwave come to about the same place as the smokestacks on Optimus Prime. So all in all, Shockwave feels a little bit taller, but when I hold it, the weight, I think, is Optimus just edges him out on weight. And they're both carrying their guns, so it's a fair comparison. But he feels, although all these guys feel light compared to previous lines, he still feels like he's got enough weight to him, unlike Jazz, who you couldn't even feel the weight to that piece of crap. Putting Optimus aside, here is Shockwave next to his master, Megatron, from War for Cybertron. Now that's a pretty big difference. So, like all of these War for Cybertron versus Fall of Cybertron figures, the War for Cybertron really dwarfs them, and I think Shockwave is supposed to be about the same size as Megatron, so that's a little bit disappointing, but I can forgive it because it does look decent. To transform this guy, first pull down the toes. Next, fold the hands into the forearms on both sides. Next, turn the forearm 180 degrees on both sides. Next, put the arms up sideways like this and untab the shoulders. Push the head down until it clicks in. Fold the chest up till it pokes straight up like that. Then, grabbing the outer section of the shoulder, we want to twist that around 180 degrees on both sides. There are tiny little holes in here that these pegs are going to tab into on the shoulder. So we bend the shoulder in and tab. They won't really make a click when they go in, but it will keep them in place. And because we've moved these forearms around, now you can see that they both have a peg and tab each. So we want to just squeeze them together using the elbow pin there to give them that motion that they need to join, making sure everything is straight. The next thing we want to do is go down to the side of the leg and untab this little piece here on both sides. That will just give us the freedom to put this somewhere else afterwards. So then we're going to turn him this way, spreading those legs a little bit to give a bit of room to work with. Grab the gun, and you'll see on the bottom of the gun, this square peg is going to go into this square hole here on his sort of butt area. So put that in like that. Now, looking inside the leg here, you'll see there is, where is it? Where's it gone? This little hole, focus. This little hole is going to tab into the end of his barrel there. So I'm going to tab both sides in, and then after that the two halves at the front here will peg together as well. So these heels tab together to make a solid connection between the two halves. Then these side panels on the legs that we untabbed from here, we can rotate the whole way around until they're parallel to the ground, like that. I'll do the other side, rotating it around. Has to bend outwards a little bit, but the toy is pretty stiff and in the joint, but flexible in the panel, so it's not going to do any damage. Next, we bend these backpack wing panels right around, just so they face forwards. And finally, we grab the pink chest section and bend that right over, and it kind of pegs in there. There are pegs, but it doesn't really do anything except sit in them. And that is the transformed mode. I think that this is a hover tank, cannon / hover tank. If you look at the sides, he's got these things that are reminiscent of tractor treads, like on a tank. They're not treads, but maybe these are like some kind of force motivators. They make him float. It's weird to look at. Judging it by any realistic vehicle standard, it obviously falls apart there. It doesn't look like anything in the human world, but if you can be happy to keep your mind in the world of Fall of Cybertron, in the game world, he does look like he fits in with the other vehicles there, and I'm not unhappy with it. I don't think I'll display it in this mode. It doesn't really look like anything. Just like Megatron from War for Cybertron didn't really look like anything in particular. He's a good figure as a robot, and I think I'll be putting him in robot mode. Here we've got a picture of Shockwave next to the other hover tank, Megatron. But you notice I said Megatron's a hover tank, but still they went out of their way to put real treads on him, even though in the box art it shows it like this in hover tank mode. So we've got our two hover tank / hover cannon weapons. And being that Shockwave has always been very similar to Megatron, both being guns in G1, I think it's right that they should make him a hover tank. Too much of this could get boring though. I see with the Bruticus set that's about to come out, we've got more hover tanks for Brawl. So I don't know how many hover tanks we can take, but at the moment with this Shockwave, I'm satisfied with him. Just size-wise, comparing the two, they're pretty similar in size in this form, but part of that is a bit of a cheat because you've got Shockwave's arms sticking out here, really not doing anything much except providing that little bit of extra length, maybe so it's not so noticeable that the body section is quite short. But then again, on Megatron we've got the barrel section sticking out, so no, they're pretty much the same length. So in vehicle mode, Shockwave isn't as small as what Jazz was compared to some of the other figures. So my final thoughts on Shockwave are that I like it. Now having opened 3 from Fall of Cybertron, Prime, Jazz and Shockwave, I've got 2 out of the 3 that were decent, and I'm not too disappointed with that wave now. So when it was just Prime and Jazz, it was a 50-50 chance as to whether you were going to get a crap toy or a good toy. Things are looking up with Shockwave. The weaknesses come from I think, the cost-saving measures. So he still has some hollow sections and some parts where you can tell it's a little bit cheaper than toys we've had in the past, and none of these three have been smash hits like with the War for Cybertron Optimus, where everybody just loved that toy. But should you get it? Yeah, I think you should get it. I'm happy I got this. I'm going to go and buy another one now, because I think he'll look nice on the card, especially with that beautiful card that I showed at the beginning of the review. So I definitely want another Shockwave. So if that's how you measure success, then yeah, they succeeded. So thanks for watching my review. I'll see you next time.